My husband, 32, and I, 30, have been married for over a year, and things couldn't be rockier. I have a good job and make decent money, whereas my husband does not make as much as me. Due to this and the fact that he was living with his parents when we got married, we decided he would move in with me, and I would continue to pay the rent and bills as long as he put money toward other things we may need as a couple. My name is the only one on the lease. However, he started to cut down on his work hours once we got married without saying anything first. He explained that I made plenty of money for the both of us, so he could work part-time and do the work around the house while I was the main breadwinner. I was fine with this, a little upset that he had just assumed this would be okay, but I didn't say anything as this felt fair. He did some work around the house initially, but spent most of his time going out to the bar, playing video games, etc., to the point where I worked and did the cooking, cleaning, and other household chores. My husband told me he was laid off 2 months ago for reasons out of his control. I assumed at this time that he would begin job hunting, and I began to pay for everything. While I do earn a decent amount of money, it's not to the point where I can pay for rent, bills, groceries, insurance, contribute to emergency savings, and finance the lifestyle my husband started indulging in. So I began paying for his nights out, summing him money for trips to look for work, etc., all while I was under the assumption that he would begin searching for a new job, at least to finance his hobbies. About a week ago, I asked him how the job hunt was going, and he told me that he didn't feel like it was worth it. He told me he was comfortable with what we have now, and I wasn't happy. So I confronted him about how I was doing everything to finance and take care of our household, at the same time he sat around and played video games. I was being an idiot here, I'll admit it, and during this argument he let it slip that he actually quit and never looked for another job. I was furious that he lied to me and told him I didn't want him in my home right now. So I helped him pack and dropped him off at his parents' house. Fast forward to now. My in-laws are understanding to an extent, but are calling me an idiot for not wanting him to come back home until he gets a job. I've seen my husband during this time, but never in our home, always out somewhere. I no longer pay for everything, and his attitude toward me is making me question our entire relationship. He's calling me an idiot for doing this to him, and I'm beginning to think he's right. Am I an idiot? Not the idiot. Your husband is taking advantage of you. He didn't give you any choice in this. He just made decisions and forced you to go along with them. Divorce him before you end up paying alimony. He's dead weight, and you're better off without him. Yeah, only being together a year, OP might not even need to pay alimony. Where I am, it's 1 year of alimony for every 3 years you've been together, and they don't seem to have any marital assets, only stuff OP came into the marriage with. So this is really OP's chance to get out with a clean cut, and most of the money they entered the marriage with. LOL at him saying he's comfortable with how things are now. Of course he's comfortable. He's not doing anything. I would ask about an annulment instead of a divorce. At this point, it's as if he married her under false pretenses. His intention was always to quit his job and not work, and block the in-laws and contact a lawyer. Why do you think they're so desperate to give him back? They raised a dud and want you to take care of it. You deserve better. I had plans with my boyfriend, Jack, his brother Tyler, and my friend Paula to go hiking last weekend. I'd suggested an easier, flatter trail for us to hike, since Paula isn't as experienced a hiker as the rest of us. I thought the plan was just to hike together and hang out and talk, but the day of we started at an average pace, and the guys just kept going faster. Paula was lagging behind, kind of out of breath, and I stuck with her. I was irritated because a huge rule of wilderness safety is to stay with your group, because stuff can go sideways fast in the backcountry. They were stopping to wait every mile or so, but we never knew where because they didn't say, and nobody had cell service. But as soon as we caught up, they'd start going at top speed again, leaving us to play catch-up non-stop. I told Jack that I'd like them to stick with us, and he complained that we were too slow, the trail was too easy, and they needed their workout. After the third time they ran off, Paula and I got to this viewpoint before the main peak, so we sat down to take our first breather in hours and vent. She joked that we should stop chasing and let them wander. I suggested we hang out at the viewpoint until the guys noticed or found us on our way back down. She pulled out some herbs she'd been planning on sharing at the top of the mountain, and we hung out and smoked and ate our lunch. It was an hour and a half before the guys came back. We heard them before we saw them. They were sprinting down the trail, yelling our names. I called out, "Over here," except I was coughing from smoking, so it sounded more like, "Over, cough, cough, here." The guys came running to the viewpoint, and Paula was giggling her butt off at my attempt to yell. Of course, I got the giggles from her, and from smoking too. The guys confused our giggling for crying since we were both just wheezing with laughter, and were asking us what happened, and I was like, "We're okay, we're just happy." Tyler got really mad at us, saying they had stopped off half a mile from the summit to wait for us before making the final push, and after we didn't show up for an hour, they turned back to look for us instead of summiting, and he was furious that we just stopped to get high without telling them. I was like, "I thought we split up, like y'all were off doing your own thing all day." And my boyfriend raised his voice at me, telling me that you don't split up a group without communication. At that, Paula and I giggled again, like, no kidding. It was just funny how he was saying the same thing I'd been saying all day. For the rest of the hike, the guys were angry with us because we ruined their summit, making them turn back just because we didn't even try to keep up. Am I the idiot for going missing on a hike? Not the idiot. You told Jack and Tyler repeatedly what the issue was. They ignored you and did their own thing. You and Paula finally gave up trying to win a losing game. I hike. You adjust your route to fit the weakest hiker, not the strongest. Duh. The guys could have had their workout on a different day, different hike. Instead, they chose to abandon you and Paula over and over again. You didn't ruin anything. I don't blame you a bit for taking care of yourselves. Trying to keep up with those two could have resulted in exhaustion and getting lost. Getting rescued isn't always free either. Your boyfriend and his pal foolishly, selfishly, and deservedly ruined their own trip. If they were so caring, they shouldn't have waited at the half-mile mark. They should have accompanied you. Also, I would have laughed at the irony in the boyfriend saying, "You don't split up." You're right. They were the ones who split the group and refused to slow down a bit. Also, if the summit was that important for them, they could have left you there and made the summit and returned. As you said, they've been doing that all day. I, teen female, have a twin brother, Cody. I do cheer and Cody does sports. We do these activities because we enjoy them, but Cody also puts a lot of effort because he's constantly seeking approval from our dad and stepdad. The two don't care for each other, but are somehow best friends when it comes to Cody's sports. He does like 5 different ones because our dad likes hockey and lacrosse, while our stepdad prefers football and basketball. They both enjoy baseball. If he ever dares to quit one of them will throw a riot or accuse him of playing favorites. It's so dumb. Sometimes Cody's schedules clash or get so overwhelming that he'll lay on his bedroom floor for hours and disassociate. It's been like this since he was 10. My mom and stepmom think it's just men being men and that boys enjoy sports. So Cody probably doesn't care, but like there's a limit to everything, right? We were having a celebratory lunch for our older sister before she left for college, and both sides were there. The lunch ended at 2 p.m., and our sister asked if we wanted to go to the mall. I said yes, and Cody was clearly going to say yes, but our dad said he had baseball practice. Cody tried asking if he could sit out one day, since he hasn't missed a single practice in his life, but our stepdad joined our dad's practice makes perfect speech and backed out. Then they tried to use me as an example. Oh, Ashley's never missed a day of practice and look at her. Medals and trophies for days. I thought this was ridiculous. I've missed plenty of practices, and Cody has more awards than me. I asked them if they were serious and told them what I had just mentioned. My dad kept telling me to be quiet, but I called him and my stepdad losers that need to realize that Cody is a human being with limits, not a doll they can program or play with. Both of them were very embarrassed. My dad told me I was being very disrespectful. My mom said I was reading too much into the whole thing and that they're men and I simply won't get their dynamics. I call BS, but they all say I'm in the wrong and need to apologize. My sister agrees with me, but says I was disrespectful. Cody doesn't want to talk about it. Am I the idiot? Just to make it clear, the practice was an informal one. Think of it as extra credit to strengthen specific skills. Not the idiot. It needed to be said, and sadly no one has said it before. Good for you for standing up for him. When your brother has a breakdown from the pressure, your dad and stepdad will be there, all confused as to why it's happened. Both your dad and stepdad are idiots in this scenario. They need to grow up and realize that your brother quitting a sport from either side doesn't count as him playing favorites. God, they sound so immature. And toxic masculinity is real, and your poor brother's on the receiving ends of it from all the directions, so keep standing up for him. 5 sports? Jesus! Cody's gonna hit the wall and burn out spectacularly. By the sounds of it, he's already halfway there. Those losers are trying to live or relive their youth through Cody, which is pathetic. Your brother's gonna kill himself trying to please them. Please keep doing what you're doing. You seem like the only sane person he has. Talk to someone in school, teachers, social workers, or even the coaches. The pressure isn't healthy. My 34 female parents had me when they were teenagers, and they only had my other brothers when I had left home, young male teen, tween male, and pre-tween male. I believe I was a fraternal figure present for my younger brothers as much as possible, but I was already in college, living alone when the oldest was born. Taking care of them on my vacation made me realize that I would never have children. When I turned 27, I received a job offer in another country, and I stayed there until the beginning of this year. Having to return to the country because my mother died, my father died at the beginning of the global issue, I came back, but I could only stay 3 weeks in my country. I had to take a break and ask for leave. I asked for a lot of vacation time in advance because I had to deal with my mother's inventory, and I was the only representative of my brothers. Everything is on track. My mother facilitated many things before she passed away, and I lived in an apartment while my brothers lived with this aunt of mine. I spoke to the social worker who considered me returning to my country for the good of them because my brothers don't know the language, non-Latin, of their country, and that it would be a big change in their lives. I said that I didn't intend to adopt my brothers because despite having conditions, I work a lot of time away, staying away from home for 2 weeks at least, and moving back, losing a very good job was not an option for me. Besides the biggest fact, I don't want to have kids or be responsible for not 1, but 3 siblings, and that if someone in my family wants to be responsible, I'll help with whatever it takes and commit myself on my vacations to taking care of them during this period, but I don't intend and don't want to be responsible. The social worker understood my side. I talked to my brothers about it, about me not being able to move. They didn't want to move to another country. The oldest one even has a girlfriend, but I would never stop visiting when possible, and they were welcome to spend my vacation with me. They were a little upset, but we managed together. Therapy also. The problem is my aunt, who, when she found out, started screaming at me, saying that I'm abandoning my brothers and leaving my responsibility to another relative, how cruel I am to turn my back, etc. Keep in mind that the person responsible for my siblings will be able to live in a 5-bed, 4-bathroom house, and there will be no financial cost to raise my siblings, as I'm willing to pay. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Asking for you to take in 1 child is a lot, never mind 3 at once. That's a huge decision, and I think most people aren't in a situation where they could easily do that. You can't be expected to drop everything in life for kids that aren't even your own. Plus, I think you did a good thing by still offering to send money for them and visit often. It shows you still care about your siblings and still want to be there for them, and I think that's commendable. Many people wouldn't be able or willing to even do that. For kids that aren't even your own, I don't know why, but this stood out to me. They're siblings. It's not like they're complete strangers. The rest of it still stands though, obviously. Suddenly taking care of 3 children is a lot to ask. You are not a stranger. You're still their big sister. After their parents, you're the only one they have to rely on until they go to the majority. You're dumping these kids, who knows where, because you don't want to take responsibility. Whose problem should it be? You are the idiot. Life doesn't always give us what we planned or wanted, but sometimes we must step up. This is one of those times. Disagree. If you took them in only because of the guilt trip, you'd resent them for the rest of your life. This seems the best way to preserve your relationship with them, and I admire you for stepping up financially and committing your vacation time to them. If your aunt feels so strongly, she's welcome to assume responsibility. I, 24 male, have several food allergies and sensitivities. Because of this, I usually only eat food that I make. My family had a dinner hosted by my cousins. I was hesitant, but I gave them a list of things I couldn't have, and they promised to make me something. However, they told me they couldn't figure out how to make something for me when we got there. I told them that they could have at least told me so that I could bring something for myself. Then they got mad and said bringing your food to dinner was rude. I asked them if not eating the food provided would be rude, and they also said yes. I asked if my getting violently ill or having an allergic reaction would also be rude, and they just looked at me like they were disgusted. Then they screamed at me that they worked hard on dinner and I would be eating it. I just went home after that. Most of the family calls me petty and rude, and it's starting to get to me. Am I wrong here? Not the idiot, and I'm confused about what they expect you to do here. Bringing your own food, rude. Okay, fine. Sitting there without eating, rude. Leaving because you can't eat anything, mega rude. Literally, you're right. By their logic, or lack thereof, apparently the only polite choice by process of elimination would be to die. Who are these people? It chaps my hide when people pull this on me, essentially giving me no options where I can do the right thing according to their judgment. And no, I don't care if Great Aunt Tilly and Great Uncle Roy spent hours preparing all kinds of food. If it's one of my allergies, I am not going to eat it, period. No, not just a taste either. Why is it considered rude for someone to avoid eating a food that causes a medical issue? But it's not rude to expect someone to eat a food that causes a medical issue. Get the heck out with that mentality. Your family needs a timeout. People who do not have food allergies don't understand what happens when you eat something you cannot eat. They don't know how anaphylaxis feels, how sick you are, and how expensive it can be. You provided a list to your cousins. They decided it was too hard and didn't tell you until you arrived. They are the idiots here.